So yeah, so the original Portal was one of the most innovative and popular games that Valve has ever done, and we had a lot to live up to do a sequel. The original characters obviously were very very popular, and a lot of the popularity of the game, the characters, was just from the huge amount of novelty. And one of the things to keep in mind to try to recreate that success was not just to repeat doing the same thing, but to recreate the novelty of that first experience of Portal. So even though some of the same characters return and some of the same gameplay mechanics, we worked very hard to put a twist on the expectations of returning players, and also include some surprises that nobody expected at all. So one of the first returning elements that players experience is the Aperture Science Facility. It's been inactive for centuries, since GLaDOS was destroyed at the end of the original Portal. We originally wanted to introduce Aperture to players through a tube ride through the facility. Some of the goals we wanted to accomplish with this intro to the game was to indicate a passage of time. We wanted new players to get an idea of the twisted nature of Aperture Science. For returning players, we wanted to give them a hint of the scope of the adventure that awaited them. We knew we would have to start the game with some training puzzles to help new players get up to speed, because we wanted to attract a lot of new players to this game. And so we wanted returning players to know that bigger and better things were on the way once the initial training was done. To first test out ideas for this tube ride introduction, we just did very low res Maya Play Blast Animex. It was very very quick to iterate on it, very quick to render. Didn't have to take time building maps or models and compiling them in game. We just put it together, stick this movie in front of the game when we had brought people in to test. So they would see this movie, and then when it finished, it would go into gameplay. So it was a very, very quick and effective way to prototype. And so what I'll show you here is a condensed edit of one version of that animatic that played at the beginning of the game.
Activated. Hello. You have been detained. Relaxation bolt. 9 0 0 0 4 0. Target acquired.
Hey, what's going on over there?
I see nothing.
Why am I not surprised?
So a few different versions of this started out in a Ratman den or in a confinement cell that seemed to indicate that the humans were being bred and raised to be test subjects. We found through testing that there was just like too much information in this video. It was very confusing out of context. Players didn't understand why this was happening to them or who they were. So we reworked how to achieve our goals. First of all, we realized, well, probably if Gladys was out of action and she's the one that was powering Aperture Science, then probably most of Aperture, including the tubes, would really not be working at the beginning of this game. In addition to that, we wanted to change how the different ideas were introduced to the player, just kind of ease them into the ideas and the experience. So the next version of the intro, by this time we actually started with in-game experiences. First, just very rough prototypes, and then expanded on them. So initially, they start in a hotel room, and the vocals indicate that it's not just a hotel room, but some kind of stasis compartment. Next, there's a passage of time, and just with the change in art and vocals, they realize it's been a huge passage of time. A lot of things have deteriorated, and starting out in a newer, cleaner room and then changing to an older one made it very clear that a huge amount of time had passed, rather than just starting in something that was already old and damaged. It really gave them an idea of the scope of time they've been through. We added some training during this part of the intro, again, to help the new players that we wanted to introduce to the game, but we did it in a fun and novel way that returning players would also enjoy. There were bits of indications in the vocals and in some of the signage that the players experience. It gives new players an idea of the twisted way that Aperture Science works. As this intro progressed, we gave players peeks at vistas around there to give them an idea of the scope of the adventure that awaited them. And as this intro got more dangerous and threatening, it was very clear to the players that they were in a pretty bad situation, and they better figure out a way to get out of there, just to help them motivate them with the ultimate goal of the game, which was to escape. This intro was executed in a pretty complicated way. We had the hotel room was actually in a container, and to accomplish the effects that happens, there were two separate and nested simulations in this container. Coarser effects for the bigger movements, and finer ones for all the debris and furniture. But we couldn't have the player actually in that area while the simulations would be happening, because of the extra calculations to make everything interact with the player. So the player is actually in this little concrete bunker in another part of the map, so that they could still move around and hit walls that matched up with the walls in the container, but they were just free of all the simulation that was happening. Meanwhile, the player's camera was riding in the container that had all the debris happening. Pretty amazing stuff.